Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us in 2021. Can you believe we made it? It's been a hell of a ride for 2020. I'm sure you guys will agree. So thank you very much for joining us. Bacon Earth, Phil, my dad, and Crafty, thank you so much for joining us. I really do much appreciate it. I'm sure more people will pop in. Hi, historical philosopher. How are you doing? Oh, goodness. Okay, so thank you again for joining us. We have a special guest with us today. We have JL Warren, but we'll get to him in a bit. I just want to run through a bit of the so-called rules, if you want to call it that. We have 4 questions that are questions that I did again months ago. So I don't remember them. So I try and do these well in advance. So I don't remember the answers. Remember the questions. So my answers will be as raw as JL. So as that is the point of the show, and I'm sure that this is why you guys are here, is to hear our opinions. And that is exactly what they are. There are opinions. There's no right or wrong answers. I will not tolerate people in my chat telling me or telling my guest or telling other people in the chat that our answers are wrong. It is opinion based, and that is that. Okay. As I say, I will not tolerate any hate, any what's it called? Flack from people saying that you are wrong, or that I am wrong, or JL Warren is wrong. Okay. So with that said, I know that my mods that are here will help me balance that out. Thank you, Auntie Flatter, for joining. I do appreciate it. I see for no reason. Thank you, honey, for joining. I do also appreciate you here. And JL Warren, how are you?
I am so good. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad that you're here. This has been a long time coming up. I've had you on my to ask list for a while now.
Well, I appreciate it. I really do. I was excited. I was kind of like, "Ooh, Roxy wants me on her show."
I'm a small little show that wants all the big players on my show. Where does that help? Where does that get me? No, but I have seen you on a few shows debating a few things, and it's your intellect that I'm looking forward to having. It's your intelligent conversation that I'm looking forward to. Unfortunately, you're on my show, so you'll have to speak layman terms. This is why I have my show, so I can understand people. And yeah, right. So, are you ready for question 1?
Absolutely, fire away.
Sure. Let me just get these things up and going. I don't know why I didn't have this earlier, but anywho.
And I apologize in advance if I get a little wordy. Sometimes when I get on a roll, I tend to go. So I'll try to limit myself.
And it's all good. Generally, I like to try and keep the show to an hour, but if we go to an hour and a half, I'm all good. Teams went up to about 2 hours, so that's fine. As long as people are enjoying the show, I don't think they would mind staying around.
And I'm free all day, so you know me, I can talk my ass off. So.
All right, let's get going. There's question 1. It's in a weird spot. I didn't even look at that, but no matter. I'll change that for next time. All right, so let me just unhide the questions. Oh, hang on. Unhide would be great. Come on. There we go. Okay, so question 1 is it more important to help yourself, help your family, help your society, or help the world?
Oh, okay. That's a difficult question because it really is situation and context dependent. So there are varying circumstances where helping yourself is the priority. There are situations where helping your family is the priority. And of course, situations for society and for world. I think that the ultimate goal should always be to help your society. And I think the world is a little bit, just in my personal opinion, I think the world is helping the world is just a little too big of a goal. It's a little bit too far outside of reach. Now, everybody should, of course, we should, always strive. Robert Browning, we should always strive. Our reach should exceed our grasp. But I think the society is a good goal, helping the society, because it's something that you can affect. But the focus should always be. I'm actually going to side. It's depending upon the situation. The focus should be helping yourself and then helping your family. Now, the reason I put self first is because in order to take care of others, in order to be the best that you can for others, you first must be the best that you can be. You first must have a grip on kind of like who you are. Because if you're in a bad spot, how could you possibly help someone else get to a good spot? And when you do focus on yourself and you do improve yourself and you are the best you can be for yourself, you ensure that you are a resource that other people can rely upon when they need it. So as selfish as it sounds, focusing on oneself and getting oneself into that best possible position is the best thing you can do when it comes to helping others, because then you're someone who can be, you're someone who can be relied upon. You're someone who becomes a resource instead of a burden.
Yes. Sorry, guys, I didn't know you could see that. Anyway, no, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. I agree that having take care of yourself first, and for you to be in a position to help others is a starting point. I've always been in a position where if you can't help yourself, how are you going to help other people?
Yes.
Right. And then when you are at a place you can help other people. A lot of people say, helping the world is is the ultimate goal. I agree to a point. Most of the time, if you help someone, you're changing their world, and I think that is, it's a paid forward kind of thing. If you help someone change their world, they will be able to change someone else's world, and if you keep paying it forward that way, eventually the world will change. And I know it's easier said than done. Believe me, I know it's easier said than done. But if we start small, bigger, it's like the ripple effect. Once you start small, the ripples will just keep going.
Absolutely. The one thing that always comes to mind, and it's rung true for me for a long, long time, is the foundation behind the current relationship I have with my wife. Is if you are unable to love yourself, then how could you ever hope to be able to love someone else? Because if you're not capable of creating that foundation within yourself of acceptance, of understanding, if you can't even do that for yourself, then how can you possibly do that with another person who comes with an entirely set of different circumstances than you do, an entirely separate viewpoint? If you can't even accept your own self, if you're not cogent there, then you couldn't possibly do it for another human being, especially in the long term. And when I was young, and I was going through the various crap that I was going through, I dealt with that, all the time. It was like, why, I was in relationships and I had long relationships. I think like my very first girlfriend ever, I think we were together for like 5 years. But it always ended. There was always a kind of fog of toxicity around the whole thing because I was self-involved, she was self-involved, or he was self-involved. And we never could get out of our own ways until I recognized I needed to take time. I needed to stop. I needed to pull back, and I needed to go, you know what? There's something fundamentally wrong here, and it's me. I gotta deal with this first. And once I did get that, I got out of my own way. Once I was able to focus on myself and pull myself back and kind of like really reevaluate, then it leads to, is like, you know what? I wanted to be in a relationship, and I've been with my wife for 17 years now. So I'm not saying that it works for everybody. I'm just saying that that's been my experience, that when your foundation is solid and you've secured yours, then you can help others. Then you can reach out. Then you can bring others into your life and be a resource instead of a drain on them.
Yes. No, I agree. I completely agree. I've always had this thing of, you need to be happy. You need to make yourself happy before you can have someone in your life before someone else can come into your life. They're not there to make you happy. They are there to experience your life with you, to give you some of their happiness, if that makes any sense. So they're not there to make you happy; they're there to add to your happiness.
Yes.
They're there. So in that sense, they could also, them adding their happiness could just be that extra bit of happiness that you need to change your world around you. I mean, when my fiance, when I was still single, before I found my fiance, I said to myself, right, come March, I'll be ready for someone to come into my life. It was November. It was 3 years ago. It was November 2000. What's it? It's 2021. So it was 2018, if I'm not mistaken. 2017. 2017, I beg your pardon. Oh my goodness, these dates. 2020 now, 2021, and now we're going 2017. Roxy, calm down. So end of 2017, I said to myself, or in my case, the universe, I said, I'll be ready for someone come March. Because I've moved into my house, I settled into my house, I had a stable full-time job. I was happy. I was happy with myself. I was happy with everything in my life. And the 3rd of March, I met him. So the very next March that came around, I met him. And we've been together ever since. We're even engaged. So, it's, say what you will about asking the universe, for things. It happened to me. And I think that changed my world. And it changed my world for the better. And I think it changed his world, because I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm going to anyway, because it's going to be mind-blowing. He said if he did not meet me that night, he wouldn't be on this earth anymore. And so I changed his world completely. And that to me, it's so sweet, so meaningful. So I don't know if it's sweet, but it's very meaningful, to be able to help someone in such a way that I didn't even know. He only told me months later that that's what he did, or that's what I did for him, should I say. So I think making yourself happy, then making the people around you happy and changing their worlds will eventually start changing society, start changing the world.
Absolutely,
Just
absolutely. I think that like you said, I'm not going to say that it's not like The Secret where like positive thinking leads to positive results and like this. Yeah, I think when you are able to reconcile who you are, and you come to terms with who you are, and you're able to accept who you are on a daily basis. You look in the mirror and there isn't a sense of rejection there. When you're able to accept these things, when you walk out into the world and you interact with the people of the world, you will interact and with a greater level of confidence. You will walk differently. You will present yourself differently. You will speak differently. There are these little cues, like little small cues that people pick up on, these interpersonal cues, especially people pick up on subconsciously. It's how we know who we want to be around. You see a particular person and there's something that they say or something that they do or a way that they move that you're kind of like, no, I don't really want to be around that person. There's something like that. But when you're able to reconcile yourself and get into this position where you have a good solid foundation, there is a level of confidence that comes with it. There's a level of kind of a sense of inner strength that comes with that. When you take that into the world, that does make you a more attractive individual. That even if you're not looking to get a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever, even if you're not looking for someone, you put that out there because that is who you are now. And then people are naturally attracted to that. They will see, oh, I want to be around confident people. I want to be around people who are resources instead of burdens on me. I want to, maybe this person knows something I don't know. Maybe I can learn from them. And these are the important things that when you take that out there, the change you can affect just by people seeing a confident person, you can inspire confidence in others. You can inspire strength in others because they see a strong person. They're like, oh, wow, there you go. Not to mention, Yeah, I mean, not to mention what you do. You go into with a better mindset. Your productivity goes up. Your focus goes up. You're able to accomplish more in a less amount of time. You become more efficient. You become better for your society. So we see this kind of trickle up effect, for lack of a better term. We see this kind of ripple effect, like you stated, where you start with yourself, and then you see those changes in your family, and then those individuals go out into the world, and they themselves have changed. If you inspire that, they begin to affect the society around them, and then you basically just expand out in that ripple.
Yes.
That's a great analogy. And
Yes.
so the important thing is just, that's why I always say it starts with you. It starts with yourself. That's always been my focus. And that keeps you from getting bogged down and setting goals that are way outside of your reach. Because if you fail to meet them, which happens, but if you fail to meet those goals, that can just be another law, and you're like, and then just is another hit. Best to start small. Start with yourself, and then go forward. Jessica G.
Okay, I just want to quickly say hi to the new people that have quickly bunked in, and then we can ask the chat if they've got any questions. Well, they can actually put them in so long while we're going through this. I see the plot holes joined us. I see Jessica G, Glober, Chris. Thank you. Punchy just joined as well. Thank you guys for joining. A little late, but it's fine. So Jessica, you're late, and JL Warren was on time. But okay, I know she's going to give me flack for this, but
that's right, Jessica. That's right, Jessica. Roxy's got my back.
I'm really for no reason. I think this is your first time here. I'm not too sure. Maybe I'm mistaken. It's just been a long December. But thank you again for coming through. All right. Is anyone in the chat have any questions? I see that historical philosopher did say something. Let me just quickly put it back up on the screen. He said, also, it's important to remember that only a few people can actually help the entire world. What is your view on that?
I think that there are some individuals on this planet that have the resources, that have the access in order to affect global change on that level, but there's only a very small handful of these people, just because they've either lucked into it, or they were born into it, or they happen to take it, by whatever means they chose. But these people are in a position where they literally could, with the stroke of a pen, they could affect the planet, they could affect the world, they could affect how one country interacts with another country. One of those people being like the president of the United States, one of those people on the UN. I would say some of the, like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, they have the ability to do these things. They could literally, like Jeff Bezos in one afternoon, could legitimately fund the entire revamping of our infrastructure to bring everything in our nation up to code in one afternoon. With the stroke of a pen, he could do this.
Yes.
And bringing our entire infrastructure up here in America up to code, up to absolute code, across the entire board. You imagine the things that would come from that. You imagine the progress that would allow us, because our crumbling infrastructure really impedes us in many ways. So yes, these individuals could do this. I think Elon Musk is doing it correctly. I think he's pushing into an area that we should have been pushing in 25 years ago. But I think when people on the ground level, people like us, like me, you, individuals in the chat, we do need to keep our goals more earthbound, I guess. Keep a little bit more on the level, because we don't have those. So when there are people out there who think, oh, I can do that, they set these goals so far ahead of themselves, and then they feel like they're not living up to it. They can only do so much. Whatever a person's able to do, that's one of the biggest things I think that we can teach people, is that whatever you're able to do, that is a good thing, that is a positive thing. Even if it's a small thing, even if it's a small gesture, even if something as small as like liking and sharing this video. You can do these things. And that small gesture, that resonates.
Yes.
So
yes. Quickly, I did miss Clive Wells. I'm so sorry. I see that you're in the chat. Thank you very much, good sir, for joining us, as well as Mr. Andrat also joined us. Alien X, thank you for finally coming back to my stream. um, yes, there are a few people that can change the entire world or help the entire world, but the question is, do they want to? Does it benefit them? You know?
I think they do, because I think the way that they do it is benefits them first.
Yes.
Because even at that point, even when you are the richest man on the planet or the second richest man on the planet, I speak of Musk and Bezos.
Mm.
Even when you have that, the focus is still kind of themselves. Is
Yes.
that, and I can't blame them for that, because if they just willy nilly just ran out there and just like were dumping money all over the place without a thought, just because they simply could, that could
Mm.
lead to that could lead to more issues as well. So keeping yourself rock solid, keeping your foundation strong, and then moving forward like that, and moving forward in the way that you feel you want to. Because imagine if the top 5 individuals, I don't know who the 3 are. I know, like, you got Musk, you've got Bezos, and you got the 3 people underneath them. If you imagine they all did what this very thing, but in the way that they wanted to. Like, someone focused on this, someone focused on this, someone focused on this, someone focused on that, then yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we could affect major change.
Yes.
Unfortunately, ego, tribalism, and whatever just kind of sometimes gets in the way.
Yes. Yes. Right. I got a question for you from Clive Wells. When
Mhm.
did you when did you first start using quantum mechanics to justify your belief in ghosts?
That's a troll question. Clive Wells, so good to see you. So what Clive Wells is referring to is, okay, number one, let me preface this. I do not believe in ghosts. I do not accept ghosts. But I cannot deny that there are phenomena that that human beings interpret as ghosts. It's got to come from somewhere. People don't just say, oh, it's a ghost, and there was nothing there. They're obviously experiencing something. And I will never discount that someone experienced something. If you say you experienced it, I have no doubt that you did. Your interpretation of that experience, that's the question. Now, you think you saw a ghost? Well, was it the disembodied spirit of a human being that is now that has moved on or that is dead? Is it a disembodied spirit or something like that nature? No. I can say no. But was there a phenomena? Probably. Most likely there was. It's just a misinterpretation. And whereas most of the times I would say it's pareidolia or it's epiphania or something very, very simple, I did, during a live stream, I posited a possibility that knowing what we don't know about quantum mechanics, about phenomena in this universe, we can't just simply say the phenomena doesn't exist, that it's not. I'm not saying that it's ghosts, and it's not. I don't believe that it's the disembodied spirit of something, but I believe it may be some form of something that we don't understand about energy, something we don't understand about quantum mechanics, something that we only glimpsed in brief of, whatever. There's too many things out there that we don't know about, and we can fit these phenomena in that area. I'm not saying it's ghost, but I am saying it could have been something that we can't explain yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this conversation went on way too long. This little conversation I had went on way too long, and everybody started saying that I was making excuses and saying I can justify belief in ghosts. It's like, no, I do not believe in ghosts, but I do accept that there's phenomena out there that we cannot explain, that we interpret as ghosts.
All right, last one, and then we'll move on. Okay, so for no reason says my goal has been to support those in this community. I know it seems small and odd, but just to be supportive of those here and around me is all I am trying to do. Well, thank you for no reason. I appreciate that very, very much. Very, very sweet of you. And it's good to have you. It's good to have everyone in the chat. I'm very, very blessed to have you all here. Hashtag blessed. Sorry, had to. All right, so let's go to question 2. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, so question 2 is, oh my goodness. What life-altering things should every human ideally get to experience at least once in their life? Okay, so what life-altering things should every human ideally get to experience at least once in their lives?
What life-altering things? Okay. in my experience throughout my life, I have seen that the things that, if you want to call something life altering, are the things that I would describe as, or I would label as, perspective altering. The way to open the way to open one's eyes, or open one's concept of their world, is to experience, through experience, and of course, different perspectives. So I think one of the biggest one of the biggest moments for me was ascending it was the first mountain I ever ascended, and it's something so simple. I went out and I climbed a mountain. It was Mount Baldy in the Cimarroncito in northern New Mexico. It was the very first one I'd ever climbed. I've climbed many more since then, but it was the very first time that I stood at almost 13,000 feet in the air and looked out over the valley, because you get up on the peak and then you can look out, and the entire New Mexico Valley down below is spread out before you. And that was a moment, because I was 16 when I had that experience, and it was that moment that solidified that just the relationship that I had with this planet, that I am, if not from just a size perspective, the Earth is so big and I am so small, but just like I'm lucky to be on this Earth, because in this, whatever this perspective, in this body that I'm in, here I am experiencing this. Like, this is amazing, and it really it really solidified my perspective in my relationship is getting up and getting high. I almost said getting up and getting high, but getting off the ground. But getting off the ground. Look at the world from a different vantage point. Change your perspective. Do things that alter your perspective. It doesn't have to be extreme. It doesn't. It could be, get out on a canoe or get in a kayak and row yourself out into the ocean as far as you're willing to go. Okay. And then come back, or something of that nature. Look at the world from a different perspective. Go scuba diving or go snorkeling. Climb a mountain. Experience the world from a different, from a vantage point other than what you do when you walk around all day long. Because if all you have when you wake up in the morning, you eat your breakfast, you get in your car, you drive to work, you do 8 hours, you drive home, you watch TV. If that is the limit of your perspective, then the whole thing is you're gonna be so closed-minded about various things out there. Yeah, get out there, get into the world, view the world, view people from a perspective that is not your standard. And that is the life-altering experience that everybody needs to have, is to just shift their position, shift it, and look at it from another perspective. Mm-hmm. Be willing to say, you know what, I'm going to set my side, I'm going to set my point aside, and I'm going to start over here and look at it from this point. And there you go. That's all you need. And I think that is the one that everybody needs to have.
Yes. From my experience, I've gone, not mountain climbing, but I've climbed. Dad, you can correct me if it was Devil's Peak or Lion's Head in Cape Town, on one of the mountains on either side. I think it was, if you're looking at the mountain, I think it was the right one, the right little peak on. If you look at Table Mountain, Table Mountain. I'm talking to people that don't live in my country. Sorry, guys. So if you have seen a picture of Table Mountain, there's two small peaks on either side. I climbed the one on the right with my family. So I can say I've climbed a mountain, I've gone snorkeling, I've gone scuba diving. So I've experienced those, but I think for me, the one life-altering thing is a broken heart. That to me has taught me so much out of the many times that it's happened to me, because each of them were different reasons. And that to me has taught me, red flags to pick up, has taught me to still keep loving, even though I'm even though I'm brokenhearted, even though I've been hurt. And I think that to me is one of the most important life things to go through, if you want to call it life altering experiences, because if you have never been brokenhearted, you will never know what true love is. I know it's a mushy one.
Oh, that sounds,
um,
yeah. I mean, no.
but
It's an emotional experience that I think more people are afraid of than they should be.
yes, and this is why I am so attached to Aphrodite, being the goddess of love, in the Greek mythology, because no matter how many times I've been hurt, I still love. Um, I love in different ways for obviously different people, and it's different for different people, obviously. But when it comes to relationships, I've learned to love differently. I've learned to put love for myself first before I put love for someone else or my partner before mine. And that's what that has taught me. It's been a difficult, what, 10, 11, no, about 15 years of going through relationships like this. But I'm finally learned, I think. I think I'm hoping that I have, but I think for me, emotional experiences are just as amazing as going out and climbing Mount Everest. It's just as amazing as traversing the planet or traversing, you know, Antarctica, traveling the world, meeting new people. I think it's just as important to have those personal experiences, then, as well. So, yeah.
I think,
I,
and if I can read something in the chat that somebody said, like Forno raised it, and I'm good, and I like how you put it there, the emotional experience, because Forno Raisin brought up, like, go skydiving, ride a motorcycle, visit a city you've never seen before, spend time under the stars where you can see the galaxies, the galaxy's arm, watch a rocket launch, talk to someone from a different country. These are all valid, terrific experiences, and I agree with the emotional experience because. Because obviously doing something, obviously, like Crafty said, outside of your comfort zone, doing something outside of your comfort zone, doing something brand new, these will elicit these emotional responses. You never know what those emotional responses will be. I'll tell you one that really, really got me, and it gets me every time I think about it. I was out for a run one day, and it was a Sunday. It was quiet, and I'm just running about this little area. I used to live in an area that was very much a kind of like a shops and businesses area, but it had apartments. And I was running through the kind of like parking area. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to run up to the top of the parking structure. So it was like, boom, boom, boom. So I go up the ramp, and I'm just tearing ass up to the roof of it. So I get up to the roof, and I'm sitting on the roof of this parking structure, tallest thing in the immediate area. So I'm like, oh, it's so cool. It was a sunny day. It was absolutely beautiful. The weather was gorgeous, not a cloud in the sky. And I was like, you know what? I wonder. And I laid down and just stared up at the sky. No clouds, no nothing. Just a sheet of blue. No depth perception. Absolutely just nothing to reference from, because looking straight up, not seeing the structure around me, but looking straight up into this, just a wall of blue. And I was like, that was one of the most intense experiences I've ever had, because I was my brain is unable to latch onto something to give me a reference, to give me a vantage point or reference frame. So all it is just void, just blue void, light blue void, but that's all it was. And forcing myself to remain in that position for longer than 30 seconds was wildly intense. And it kind of like, it opened me up to lines of thinking I hadn't experienced before. And when I went to Hawaii, several years later, and I was diving off the Nepali coast, and I turned around, I turned away from the island, and I looked out into the ocean, underwater. I look out into the ocean. I see that same void of blue. Only this time I'm not laying on my back. Gravity is underneath me, and gravity is affecting me, from my feet, not from the flat of my back. And now I look out, and the experience is completely different. It gave me a frame of reference that I had not had before, because you never know what can inform the next experience you have. So just too small, one little small thing, and inform something really large. I got lucky; I got to go to Hawaii, but that's what I think. Each one leads to the next. You never know what you're going to take going into the next one. So try to experience as much as you can. And I challenge anybody: lay on the flat of your back and stare up at the sky. that has no clouds, that has nothing in it. There's just a wall of blue. Yeah, I think you'd be pleasantly surprised.
Guys, I would like to ask, I don't want to be rude, but I want to try and keep the questions or statements or opinions to the questions that we have. This one from Clive Wells about Hellraiser. At what point did you stop saying that Hellraiser 3 is the best film ever made? Sorry, guys. I want to try and keep it to the topic of the conversations that we're having and the questions that we're having. If you guys don't mind, it would be great. So, at least we can try and keep it to the conversation. I don't mean to be horrible, but I would like to try and keep it here.
Nah, they're just trying to get a rise out of me because that's what they do on the Four Beardsmen when I'm on the Four Beardsmen on Sundays, or on Jessica G, or when I'm whenever I'm doing so Week in Horror. Those are the questions that will come in because.
Yeah, here we go. Go skydiving, ride a motorcycle. I've never gone skydiving. I've been on the back of a motorcycle, visit a city I've never seen before, did that, spend time under the stars, did that, where you can see Galaxy Arm. Don't know if I've seen a Galaxy Arm, but I think that's just part of the Milky Way, what we see anyway. Watch a rocket launch. I can't do that in my country. Talk to someone from a different country. I do that every day. So I've done the majority.
I think the best I ever did was back again in New Mexico. Was the base camp of where we were operating from was at about 6,500 feet above sea level, and like an hour and a half from the nearest ski resorts. So there was nothing out there. And at night, nighttime, you could look up and see the galaxy, just like he's talking about. You can literally see the stretch of the Milky Way. It's really impressive, and it was the first time I'd ever seen it, and that kind of blew my mind because you imagine all the things you must be seeing up there. All the stars. He's like, because you live in the city and you're gonna like light pollution, blah blah blah. But when you get out there and it's absolutely clear, 100% visibility, the things you can see are shocking. The amount of meteors or little things streaking across the sky, or satellites, because you can see satellites, just kind of, going from horizon to horizon, and all these really, really cool stuff. And I didn't get to see that for the first time in my life. I was out in New Mexico and saw this, looked up, and was like, well, there's something you don't see every day. Pretty impressive.
Yes. Here's one from For No Reason. Roxy, I can agree with you on that. Losing someone once loved is very difficult, but also opens an eye that one never knew about. Yes, that is for sure. That is definitely for sure. I always believe in when you learn something, there are always lessons to be had from it. But once you go through something, there's always lessons to be learned from it. I beg your pardon, my brain is sleeping. So yes, and I completely agree with you For No Reason. And then Mr. Andras says, I agree, Roxy, my divorce was the most life-changing event ever. Bigger than my MS diagnosis. Tons of lessons learned since. I'm not too sure what MS is. I apologize, Andres. I'm not too sure what MS is.
Multiple sclerosis.
Oh dear. Oh goodness. Okay. Well, I'm hoping that you've got a hold on that as well. Then we have a serious question from the plot hole. What's the one experience that has transcended all expectations of your experiences? Wow, that could mean a whole lot of things.
The one expectation that transcended all expectations of your experiences. It's definitely a reference to something that I went out and I purposefully did because I've had specific expectations on certain things. I would say the one experience that transcended at this point all expectations was okay. This is going to get a little. Obviously, it's a personal question. The very first time I allowed myself to be intimate with another guy, with another man. The acceptance of my bisexuality was one of the hardest things that I've ever done in my life, and I've done some tough things, but that was the one that really rocked me to my core, because I'm not saying that my home life was all that difficult, although my father who passed away in 2014, if my father knew that I was bi, that I had been intimate with other men, he probably would have harmed me. That's just who my dad was. He wasn't an abusive man, but he had viewpoints. He had viewpoints that he got from his mother, who was a fundamental Christian, who was a very mentally unstable fundamental Christian. His father was a military vet, was in the Marine Corps. He was like a 25-year Marine veteran who saw action in Korea and Nam. So his home life was a particular way. My father would never have been able to accept it about me. He and I were already vastly different. He was a linear thinker. I was very much a spatial thinker. I was more open to progressive thinking and thinking outside the box. My dad was very much like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of guy. Very, very black and white. I see the world in gray. So yeah, we already didn't get along. If he knew that about me, that would have been huge. And he raised me that way, to look at the LGBTQ plus community through that lens. And it never sat right with me. My mother was more accepting, but she never really expressed an opinion about it. But I'm pretty sure that my mother knew, for the longest time. But anyway, with the very first time I was able to set my entire childhood, my entire upbringing aside, to take that and go, you know what? Everything that I've heard, everything that's been beat into me, everything from people from the church, everything from people in my peer groups, everything that I've heard from my father, who has beat this into me since I was young, that this is what gay people are, this is what they do, and whatever horrible opinions that my father had about them. I'm going to set everything aside, and I'm going to engage with who I am and who I believe that I am, who I am inside. And that moment right there, the world finally looked real to me, because I was not looking for the word. I hate the word closeting, but I was not closing myself off. I finally was like, I'm in the world. This is who I am. And this is who I'm going to be. Mm. And it was that singular moment. And while the individual I was with became my boyfriend, we were only together for about 6 months, because, we were just so bullheaded. We didn't really mesh, but it was that individual, his name was Jericho, who helped me get to that point with compassion, with understanding, and a level of appreciation for my position that I had never experienced before, who was willing to take the time to do that. And he opened that door and said, it's like, it's your choice to walk through it. No one can force you to do it. And I was like, you know what? I'm doing it. And I just made that choice, and bam, it was like all of a sudden I was on a conveyor belt, and it was just going forward. It was shocking. And the whole world shifted for me. And, that's just my personal experience on that one. So,
yes. I don't know if I've had any kind of experience that has transcended all that I can explain without sounding crazy.
Well, don't think that it makes you sound crazy. Just think that that's your experience, and that's how you are going to explain it. And because I don't think anybody's going to think you're crazy. I think that your interpretations are your own, and they are valid.
Okay, so the reason why I think that this is the biggest experience, or the experience that has transcended all other experiences, is because now my dad and I are extremely close. Okay, I don't know what I'd do without my dad. That love I have for my dad is. I'll start crying if I have to try and explain it, so I'm not going to. Just know that it's extremely, extremely strong, and it's extremely, yes. So just take that, and then I had a dream that Zeus came to me, and I know Zeus in the mythology is not a very nice person, not a very nice god at all. I know that. I'm not dumb. But in my dream, he came to me and he told me that I am safe now. And the moment he said that to me, I felt that exact same feeling I do for my dad. And that to me is my biggest experience that I've ever had in my life. Yes, it was in a dream, and but to me it was so real. It was so real that it has oh my dad that it has pushed me to believing in Zeus, that he is real because of that love that he gives to me. He doesn't treat me like he did his own children. He doesn't treat me like he treats the other gods and goddesses. He treats me like this. And and I'll never ever excuse me, and I'll never ever I can never ever explain that more than I can now. So yes, Dad, that's how I feel. But it's I think that's just one of the if I want to go down that road, it's probably that is the biggest one. I may have a few more, but I don't know if I can explain it, so I'd rather not say anything. But yes, that's probably my experience that has transcended any other experience, is to know that when it's my time, when it's my soul's time to rest, that I will still be with a father that loves me like my um, earthly father does. That I love him like I love my earthly father. Yes, so that's my experience. Can we carry on before I start crying on the stream? Actually, Zeus is much nicer than the Christian god.
Yes, historical philosopher is correct on that one. Zeus is actually, at least, Zeus is honest. Zeus doesn't screw around with people's, he is actually a better, I would say, he's actually more moral than the Christian god of the Bible, than the Hebrew thunder god.
I think that might also go for Thor as well. Any other lightning god that is out there. But yet again, I'm a Marvel person. I love Thor, so that's just my biased opinion. All right, are we ready for question 3? Is everyone ready for question 3? Because I am.
Yeah, bring it on.
Oh my goodness gracious. Oh, we're taking. Oh my goodness, what is happening? Did I just mess up? I did just mess up. I'm so sorry, guys. That was not supposed to happen. Anyway.
It was very cinematic.
It was. I pressed the wrong button.
Question 3.
Question 3. Here we go. What is the best way for a person to attain happiness? What is the best way for a person to attain happiness?
Oh, wow.
Being yourself. Being yourself. I cannot stress you more than being yourself is the way to happiness. Because if you can't be yourself, you're not happy because you have to pretend to be someone else. How are you happy? How can you be happy?
It's an excellent point, and I am inclined to agree with that. Is be oneself. I think it's difficult. It's very, very difficult to be oneself. To come to, like I said, everybody's experiences are mine pales in comparison to some other individuals. Some people go through absolute hell trying to find out who they are, discover discover things about themselves.
Yes. No,
I'm inclined to say, I'm actually inclined to say, and this is going, and I'm going to catch so much flack for this. I really, really am. That I think so I'm gonna see if I can preface this. I'm not gonna preface it. I'm see if I can state this in a way that makes sense. All right. So in psychology, you have two kind of fundamental things. You have self and you have other. So yes, you can be yourself, and yes, you can be happy being yourself, but the other is so important. And the other can be anybody. The other is someone other than you. But the other is so important because how we learn about ourselves is the reflection of what we get from other people. And in what we see of ourselves and other people, when they reflect back at us who we are, is how we gain insight into who we are. That's how we discover who we are. That's how we find out. That's how we're able to go down deep and discover like these things about ourselves. I think I'm a nice person, but everybody else around me reacts a certain way. If I have the strength to look into that and say, what are they reflecting back at me? Maybe I'm not that nice of a person. So if you have the strength to do that, the other is so important. And I think the key to that happiness is not just about being yourself, because you can't be yourself if you can't learn about yourself. You need the other to learn about you. Is find, and I'm not saying that there is somebody for everybody, but find your other. The person that complements you. And so it doesn't have to be a spouse, doesn't have to be a boyfriend, girlfriend, doesn't have to be your brother, your mother, your father. It could be a total stranger. It could be the homeless person who hangs out by the convenience store where you buy cigarettes every day. You see them every single day. You say hi. Maybe it's that person. You never know. But find the other that's going to reflect back to you the best way you can get insight into yourself. That person who you say, wow, I really see, this person gives me a lot of information about me because of the way they react towards me. Find that person, make them a part of your life. Well, it could be your best friend, whatever, the confidant, the person that you can fight with, but you never, fall out. Find that individual, because that mirror is so important. It's so important for the insight into yourself. I think that is the key to happiness, because alone, you're only going to have yourself and no one to bounce off of. And you've got to have that reflection.
Yes. And I think this is a good question, a good one that's just popped in for the previous question, but I think this relates so nicely with this one is, Lowrie, how many people are afraid to take that step to be who they are?
Oh, way more than should be. I think being who oneself is, because we're all a part of a group, and I think this goes back to primal days. We're all a part of a group. We're all a part of this tribe. We all have our little tribes. We all have our little cliques inside the tribes. Okay, but we are all a part of a tribe. The one of the greatest fears of being human is and I'm talking reptilian brain here. I'm talking like old school, is fear of ostracization. The fear of being left out, FOMO. Fear of missing out is where the FOMO is where this comes from. The fear of being left out is so ingrained in us, because when you're left out of the group, your odds of survival plummet. And when you're part of the group, your odds of survival skyrocket, because they supply resources, you can supply resources, everybody works together, everybody's got an opportunity. If you get kicked out of the group, you are done. Your brain tells you, no, you must be a part of the group, because you will die if you are not. And we fight that primal urge every single day, because today, just trying to be yourself, if yourself gets judged and you are left out of the group, then you are dead. So we are inclined instinctually to not go too far astray, to not go too far to the left or too far to the right or too deep down the center, or to not do something that attracts unwanted attention to us, or to get the attention, to get any kind of attention outside of what is popular or trending or what is going on. We want so badly to be a part of the group that we're willing to sacrifice that which is us in order to continue to do that. Just because our brain tells us, if you don't do this, you're going to die. If you don't do this, you're going to die. And that's where that's where we build it. That's where we build this whole thing from. We've got to be able to. People have got to be able to. I would say this: children have to be taught Teenagers have to be taught that it is okay that at this point right now, this is not the Paleolithic era. We are not hiding in caves from saber-toothed cats. You can be different and still be a part of the group. That these survival instincts are so primitive that we can go past them. We can look past them. They'll be there. They're always going to be there, but you can disregard them. And we have to teach kids from a young age that this is okay. We have to get there, and that has to get in young. And then once it's in young, it becomes a part of the foundation, and wham.
Yeah. Yes. No, I agree. Look, like I said, being yourself is the one way to be happy, because there's no leverage for, where was I going to go with this now? I'm trying to think there. I just think that, we try to be someone else, whether it be online. I'm not saying that our nicknames or our names we give ourselves online are different personas and such. It doesn't mean that we are being someone different. It's just a name. But I think being yourself, whether it be online, at work, in your house, around your family, around your friends, being yourself is the best you can do. Yes, I understand that whether it be online, with your work, with your friends, with your family, or with yourself, you will be different parts of yourself around these different people. I get that. I get that because most of the time I am different around these different people, because my colleagues don't need to see my personal side. My best friend, she gets to see as more than anybody in my family gets to see. It's not to say that I'm not myself in front of my family. I am. It's just there's some things that my family don't need to know about me. Whether it be whatever it is. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but it doesn't mean that I'm any less myself.
I am curious. That does kind of what you just said kind of inspired a question. I want to ask you. So there are things that the people in your immediate circle that they don't know about you, that they don't need to know about you by your determination. You determine that they don't need to know these things. Why wouldn't they need to know about them? Or why wouldn't they need to know about them? Or even better, why do they not need to know? We'll go with that one first.
It was just an example. It was just an example. If there was something that they didn't need to know, so for instance, if I was pagan behind the scenes that my parents didn't know, and they do know, my parents do know that I am pagan. If they didn't need to know that, if me telling them actually hurts them more than helping me, then I'm not going to tell them, because it's just going to hurt them. It's not going to affect me. It's just going to hurt them, and I don't want to hurt them. That's how I see it.
Okay, that's kind of where I was going with that, because I come from my perspective is slightly different. Is that I would say that because truth is my focus. Knowing as many, accepting as many true things as possible and rejecting as many false things as possible. And truth is born out of knowledge, out of that which you know, and that which you can, the accumulated knowledge. So knowing no one will ever know everything. I will never know everything, but knowing as much as I possibly can is kind of the goal. So I can have the best kind of internal model that matches that, the model outside, so that my internal model matches my external model. So keeping information, or deciding when and where information should go, has always been a difficult concept for me to wrap my head around, and determining where, what someone should deserve to know, or what someone doesn't need to know, or what someone should know, and or whatever like this. I've had difficulty kind of reconciling that just in my own personal life. So I was curious to just what your situation was.
Yeah, no, that's just it was just an example. But I mean, if for some people, who are, bisexual, but they will still, marry the opposite sex. Do your parents or their parents need to know that they're bisexual? Because just telling them is just going to hurt them. I don't think they need to know. It's your
I'll
personal, private thing that, so they don't need to know that kind of thing. So that's my opinion anyway, because you're still going to marry the opposite sex. Well, yes. So,
well,
you're still going to.
I'd say if my father was still alive today, he'd be in his 60s. I'm 40. If my father were alive today, I honestly wouldn't care if he knew or if he didn't. If it came up in conversation, I would gladly admit it, regardless of his feelings, because his experience is not my experience, and that I know where I end and my father I know now where I ended and my father began, and the extent of his influence on me. I think maybe it just comes with age. Maybe I'm more mature down the line. I mean, obviously, when my dad passed away, I was only 23 when my dad passed. So I'm a completely different person, now than I was then. So at this point, I would say, you know what? His experience is not my experience. He can draw from my truth. He can draw from the truth of a thing, whatever he wants. Then that's on him. And I'm not responsible for his feelings or his takeaway or his whatever. I've learned to divest myself from the experiences of others because I cannot control what they take away from it. They can only take away what they take away and what they're willing to take away. So here's the truth. This is the reality. And then whatever you take from it, you can take from it. And that has been very empowering for me. It's like, I don't give a fuck who thinks, I walk around, it'll be in casual conversations like, someone will make a comment and I'll be, I'll hear somebody say something. He's like, dude, man, I'm bi, right? And if you look at me, if you really look at me, I don't look like someone that would strike you. You're walking down the street and it's like, no, that dude is like, man, beard and big dude. And like that dude's so straight, man. He's probably like, I'm straight. But people don't expect that. And I'll be like, I will tell someone straight out. It's like, not to be offensive, but be like, dude, man, consider your position. Consider what you know or what you don't know. I know you have a different experience, but really, look at this. And it's kind of like, but if it doesn't change their mind, I'm not looking to change their mind. Just be like, have this perspective. So I go for, everybody should know as much as they possibly can. That way, that their reactions are going to be honest because they know. So if someone makes a gay joke or or a gay slur, if someone says something, use an inappropriate term, and I'd be like, hey, dude, I'm bi, I'm sitting in here, and you're using this language, and I thought you were, I know you didn't know, but I'm telling you now. And then they continue to use that language, then So just to get everything out there, all cards on the table, I think is always the best way to operate.
Yeah. Clive Wall says, we are all complex individuals. Part of that is understanding that you interact with others in different ways depending on your relationship with them. Yes, I agree with that. And that is exactly what I mean. Depending on who you are with in your day or your life, you will definitely share different parts of yourself with different people. Some parts you'll share more than others. Some parts you'll share all of yourself than others. So with your partner, you'll most likely share the whole of yourself with your partner, or if you're into having more than one partner or partners, it just depends on who you're with, and that's okay. I don't think there's a problem with sharing all of yourself with one people or sharing a little bit of yourself with colleagues or friends that you've just met or people that you are acquainted with. It just depends on the level of your friendship or your relationship with the person. Will depend on how much you share with that person.
Absolutely. I think one of the funniest things I ever came across, because you just reminded me of it, was I discovered, someone pointed out to me because they realized, wow, you because I'm a voice actor as well, and they heard me doing a voice on an anime one time, and they said, wow, your voice, how did you do that? What did you do to your voice? And they found out I actually speak to my wife. When I talk to my wife, all the bass, because I typically have some bass in my voice. But when I speak to my wife, none of that bass is there. I wasn't even aware of it. I typically I just speak to my wife like that. I just kind of remove the bass out of my voice, and I
Yes.
speak like that. And but now all of a sudden I'm speaking with you, and then you can hear the bass of my voice. So this feels natural. But when I speak to Angela, all the bass is gone. And it was a friend who pointed it out to me. It was like, "Holy shit, you have two different ways of talking to people." And I was like, "No, I don't." And then they heard me. We were all sitting at the same table, and I answered a question. My friend turned around and talked to my wife. My voice changed like literally from sentence to sentence. It was creepy.
Yeah.
So
I had to stop sharing the public mute. Oh, bacon. I, I mean, my fiance and we also have our, not language, but our also way of speaking to each other. People would say it's a cutesy way of talking to each other, and I think when you do speak to your partner, when you're not mad at each other, let me just add that when you're not mad at each other, you tend to speak differently. You either tend to put on either a different accent, or you put on a softer voice like you do, or just take the bass out of your voice, or a woman will talk sweeter, or with a bit of more melody, or a bit of a birdie tune in their voice, or they'll sound like a baby, will speak like a baby, or something like that. So people, I think it just depends on who you're with, will depend on how you talk and what you say to them. So again, being with different people will determine how much they know about you. And so, like with your colleagues, you don't want them to know your personal details. You don't want them to know every personal thing about you. So you don't express all of that to them. So
yeah.
my parents raised their kids to be who they are. They were Catholic, but left us to find or not religion. We didn't. You see, I grew up Catholic as well. I was baptized Catholic. I had my communion. I was kicked out of the Catholic Church before my confirmation, but that's another story for another day. And I found paganism for the first time as I was learning about it. I was a naive kid. I went down the dark route of paganism, as one does. And then I became atheist, in a sense of I didn't care that there was a God or not. I didn't care of a higher being. I didn't care about anything. I think I just went through that rebellious teenage stage. I didn't care about there being a bigger picture than me. I just wanted to live my life and be with my friends. That's all I wanted.
I
I
wouldn't
didn't
say
care.
that. I wouldn't say that's atheist. I would say that it's more nihilistic. It's more kind of a positive nihilism, whereas you were deriving that you didn't see any inherent value around, like inherent value, so you derived your own value, which is very Nietzsche of you.
Look, I saw it as atheism because I didn't know what it was. So I saw it as atheism.
Oh,
Thank
that would be okay. That would be agnosticism, just simply because you don't know, and
Yes.
yeah, and which is fine, which is absolutely fine. I mean, technically, we're all agnostic. We can't know. We cannot derive a yes or no to it. The A or the not A. So we are all technically agnostic. No matter how much we try to say that we're no matter what people do to prove that they're not, they are agnostic. They can't possibly know. But I mean, you can be an agnostic theist. Or agnostic, I guess, pantheist or whatever version of it. Whatever conclusions a person comes to is valid.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So then I did become agnostic, feeling like there was something bigger than me. Just didn't know what it was. I didn't want to belong to any sort of religion or any sort of church or group. I didn't want to. I knew there was something bigger than me. At that point, I still couldn't give a shit. I didn't want to bother trying. And then I was pulled into the Assemblies of God churches, which are your Pentecostal churches, your happy clappies.
Mm-hmm.
I was in that for about 2 to 3 years, and then I found paganism again, and I've been there ever since. And for me, it felt like taking off a pair of 9-inch heels and getting into your slippers. That's what it felt like to me, going from Christianity to paganism. So I now walk around my life in slippers, and it's comfortable, and I love it. Let's see what else is in the chat. I think this one is for you, JL. A completely ignorant question. You don't have to answer this, but did you talk to your ex the way you speak to your wife, or find yourself talking differently to them?
Well, ever since that was brought up to me, I've sat here and thought about it. Is do I speak differently to different people? And I think I might, but I'm only recently aware of it. So I am aware that that the timbre of my voice is different with my wife than it is with virtually everybody else. I think that it gets lower and it gets more authoritative when, depending upon the context of the situation. If I need to speak in a certain way where my enunciation becomes really strong and I really need to express a point to get something across, then obviously I think I did a pretty good job there. It really depends upon the context of the situation. Given that it exists, that there is a difference between a marked difference between the way I speak to my wife and the way I speak to my friend. I would say I probably did speak to, Jericho or Christina or the other individuals. I probably did speak to them differently. There was probably something a little bit, just maybe a little change here or there. Don't know. Those people have been so far removed from my life at this point, it'd be difficult for me to remember. But at hazard, I probably did.
I think I remember as well. I spoke to my ex-fiance also differently to how I speak to my current one, or how I spoke to any of my other boyfriends. It all just depends on. Yes, PhD Tony believes in the God called and I just said as that popped up. Thanks, Clive Wells.
Clive Wells is amazing.
That was spot on and at the right time. But he did put in a message. He said, "A desire to be totally open with everyone suggests a need for other people's validation. Far better to accept yourself and not rely on other people's opinions to justify your worth."
Oh, I love Clive Wells. Clive Wells has always got his finger on the pulse of the conversation. I think he's almost right. He's almost correct that there is an idealistic notion that you need to accept yourself and not rely on anybody else to justify your personal worth or who you are, that you are who you are, and accepting yourself is most important. You rely on other people's validation, you're always going to be chasing that dragon. However, there is a legitimacy to seeking other people's validation, because there is something to be said for being a part of the group and not being a part of the group. That I can accomplish more, I can do more, I can learn more as a part of the group than I can outside of the group. There will always be a level of myself, maybe not for everybody else, but there will always be a level of myself that will seek out validation, because I am a piss poor judge of my own worth. I've dealt with a low self-esteem my entire life. I don't have a very high opinion of myself. I never really have. It's better than it used to be, but it definitely is not very good. My wife is one of my wife does get annoyed with me when she does attempt to compliment me, and she can tell, she can look at my face, and I don't really accept it. When it's coming from her, we've been together 17 years. I don't think she'd lie to me, but I have difficulty accepting it. That's one of my hangups. So there'll always be a part of me that seeks out that validation, and that validation goes towards saying you're still a part of the group. You have not been ostracized, and it does kind of fill that little void. Not to mention, and being a part of the group has its advantages. You can learn from the group. You can learn about yourself. You can accomplish more. You can be more efficient. Resources are more, plentiful than trying to go out and do it yourself. So, yes, I think it's idealistic to accept yourself, not rely on anybody else, for any kind of validation whatsoever. It's all internal. If you can internalize the mechanism. But I don't think that's realistic. I think we need other people's validation. Because once you close yourself off and you can do everything internally, then what point is there? I think we can get past the idea of like, don't rely on everybody for all your self-worth. Have your own self-worth. Find the middle ground between I need everybody to validate me. I need no one to validate me. No, I know that I'm valid and I'm worthwhile. But I do like to know what other people think because of what I can gain from what they think. Because it does provide value to myself by improving my internal, by kind of improving my internal model. So I think there's a middle ground there. I don't think we should be so what's the word? I don't think we should be so black and white on that, you know? I don't think it's binary.
I think to have other people justify, what's the question? Sorry, I just had it up now. Went right out of my head. Sorry, Clive. Desire to be totally open with everyone suggests a need to. Okay. To be I think for people to feel like they need to be validated by everyone, it is ingrained in us. Even though a lot of people say, I don't give a shit what people think about me, all fair and well. But deep down, everybody wants to be liked by someone, wants to be validated by someone. It doesn't have to be an entire group. It will be at least one person. And that is ingrained in us. I think that comes from tribalism. I could be wrong, but...
No, it's definitely rooted in our survival. Definitely rooted deep down in there. We're talking like deep hindbrain shit here.
Mm-hmm. I think being well liked by everybody, being validated by everybody, by wanting to be able to talk to everyone like we do in our chats. I mean, when I go into a chat, and I think a lot of people are the same, when they come into a chat, they say hi everyone, and then everyone that they know they normally speak to will say, oh, hey Roxy, and then I feel like I have to go and say hey, so I have to say hello again to everyone, and I don't mind doing that. I'm not complaining. I love saying hello to everyone. I think the hey everyone is just, hey, I'm here, just to let you all know that I'm here, and then you go and you say hello to everyone. So I think that validation from everyone to say I'm here, I think it's just something we all like to do in this community. It's just to tell everybody that we're here and to validate that I'm here, kind of thing. But that's just all fun and games,
Yeah, it's like some people it's just looking for the wave. Like, hey, there you are. Yeah, I'm right here. And that's cool. That's fine because you're there. Yes. People recognize that you exist. Yes. Okay. Recognize my existence. Hi, I'm here. I'm not just being polite. I am looking forward. Just like, hey, because think about that. Think about that. You jump into Team Skeptics chat and there's like 600 some odd people just going out like this, and you say, hey, it's like, hey, everybody, and no one responds.
Yes, I think most people in this community, when they're in a chat, they love to see orange. They love to see orange.
Oh yeah, you get that hit of dopamine off of that.
Yes,
tick,
you do.
Tick. Yep.
Yes, you do. I mean, my chat will obviously see a lot of orange, but I mean, when you go into someone else's chat. So if, for instance, you go into Team Skeptics or Creaky Blinder or FTFEs, whoever you go into, and you just see a bunch of orange, you're like, okay, so I am liked in this community. Because if you're not liked in this community, you're not going to see orange in your chat unless they don't tag you for, if they're on their phone and they don't tag you, that's fine. But, that's for me. If you don't tag me in a chat, and I don't see it, especially in the bigger chats where there's 300-400 people. If I don't see orange, if you don't tag me, I can't see it because I only look for the orange because I've scanned through the chat so fast that I don't sometimes see anything that I'm supposed to be seeing, So that again, so anybody that sees me in another chat, if you don't tag me, I don't see you. Please don't think I'm being rude to you. I'm not. I did not see it. If I did see it, you're very lucky. But if I don't see it, I'm sorry. I'm not rude. I did see For No Reason did put in a question here. Let me quickly find it. She says, Jail Warren, a vast majority of highly intelligent people have always had difficulty with depression and or low self-esteem. I agree. I agree with that. I don't know if I'm intelligent. I think I'm intelligent in my own little way. But depression and low self-esteem does trigger a lot of people that are clever or intelligent.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree. And I'm not going to sit here and try and posit why this correlation exists. There is a correlation. Doesn't mean that being intelligent means that you will be depressed. There's plenty of really, really smart people out there that are perfectly happy, like this. But there does seem to be a correlation between above average intelligence and I would say low self-esteem, depression, chronic depression, and stuff like that. There are many reasons as to why this could be. Maybe it's simply the ability to understand things a little bit further than most people. There is truth in ignorance is bliss. There's some truth there, but maybe it's because if you know too much about the world, maybe if you understand too much about it, it takes some of the mystery out of it. Everything just kind of becomes natural, and you're just kind of like, maybe it's that, maybe it's not. I couldn't hazard a guess, but I appreciate the subtle inclination that I'm smart. I do appreciate that. It's not lost on me, but even that, I'm only talking about my own intelligence like that just feels weird. But I appreciate the sentiment that yeah.
I'm not supposed to see this. Thanks, Pothole. I appreciate that very much. Here we go. Here's some orange. Thanks, Clive Wells.
Yeah, there's some orange.
For No Reason, she says, you are intelligent. Just listen to the conversation that you are having with J.L. Warren. Oh, just remember they're on my channel, so they have to dumb down their intelligence to suit me.
No. You are on point. I don't think anything needs to be dumbed down for you. I haven't had to actively dumb down anything. I should have actively dumbed down myself when I was debating with Rad Vlad. I should have really dumbed down myself. I went 4 syllables plus for the vast majority of that conversation, and I realized I was shooting way over the target. My Newton's cannon was flying off into space, and I was like, I should have done that. But no, you're on point.
You missed the mark by the space of an entire planet.
Yes, I did.
Oh my goodness! All right, I'm ready for the last question.
Absolutely.
Anybody else ready? Let's go. Let's do the transition right. There we go. Not as graceful, but it's fine. Better than a blackout. Right. Can human nature be changed? Should it be changed? So let's stick with the first question, or the first part of this question, which is, can human nature be changed?
You see, that is an extremely difficult question, because then we have to define the very nebulous territory of what we have of nature, of what is human nature. In my studies, when I through psychology, when I was pursuing my abnormal and forensic psychology degree, when I was going after this, the one thing that I took away as far as human nature is survival. By any means necessary. That is human nature. Survival by any means necessary. The minute you step beyond that, the minute you go deeper than that, survival can be justified in so many different ways that virtually everything becomes acceptable as long as it speaks to the survival of the individual. Because survival is so ingrained within us. Because the survival mechanisms of human beings is wildly intense. I mean, it's one of the most intense of any species on the planet. Our survival mechanism is so powerful. Because of that, it's difficult to say I don't think you're saying, can human nature change? No. Can human nature change? No. Can our response to our ingrained nature change? Absolutely. I think that we are driven to survive. How we go about it can change.
Yeah. Yes. I think if you want to change human nature, you'll have to again probably go through a complete experience. So, for instance, something what we're speaking about the plot holes question with that experience that what's that word that he used? I'm sorry, my brain is
Transcended.
Yes. So if we go through something like that, that changes our entire outlook on humanity, and we teach that to our kids, and our kids teach that to their kids, and so on and so forth, I think we could start a chain reaction of changing human nature. Because if you look at it, our human nature used to be hunter gatherer. We used to go and maybe the concept has now changed. Maybe we're still hunter gatherers. It's just the concept has changed. We used to be living out in the wilderness, hunting for our food and gathering our food and so on. So we used to be hunter gatherers. Now we probably moved our hunter gathering to hunting for the best deals at a shopping market, at a shopping mall, gathering stuff for feasts and gathering stuff for holidays and gathering stuff. So maybe our concept of hunter gatherer has changed. So that has now just then has just contradicted my entire answer.
I think that I think even that it boils down to survival and what we are willing to do to survive. And this is a really interesting thing that came up when I was doing some research in neurophysiology and the evolution of the brain, because the brain itself, the human brain, did not evolve all at once. The human brain evolved in stages as was necessary, because evolution does not seek perfection. There's an evolutionary biologist or an anthropologist, Alan Mills, I think his name was, who said, his quote was, evolution does not create perfection, evolution creates function. So the brain evolved as was necessary, and our forebrain expanded much quicker than our hindbrain did. So as the brain evolved in different sections, of course, it's created the brain has been forced as a kind of adaptive computer where neural pathways are created as necessary. The brain itself has created haphazard ways of communicating with different sections. When the forebrain communicates with the hindbrain, and all these different areas that are evolved at different points need to communicate with each other, the brain has created these very, very haphazard and weird methods of talking to itself, which is why we experience things like cognitive dissonance and confirmation bias and faulty memory, and the various issues that we have with cognition are because of this, this kind of like the way our brains evolved. So take that into account, and you root everything in survival. That means that our psychology, our very notion of the self, is also ingrained in that survival as well, which means that we can justify it by virtually any means necessary. Yeah, we need to eat, we need to breathe, we need shelter, whatever, we need to procreate. These things are all ingrained in us to varying degrees with varying degrees with different people. But our psychology is also in there. So what feels good, what feels bad also informs our desire to survive. So you go for that hit of dopamine, you avoid that pain sensation. Okay, you go for the things that make you feel good, you avoid the things that make you feel bad. This is also ingrained into our survival, because the things that make you feel bad may invariably kill you. The things that make you feel good, they won't kill you because they make you feel good, which is, the concept behind it, things like addiction. It feels good, but it will kill you eventually. These things. Go ahead.
So I was just going to say, I think if we go a little bit less deep than that, because we'll never change the survival part of human nature.
Yeah.
But if we go a little bit less deeper than that, and go to, maybe I should just go to where we are now in terms of sexism and racism and all the other isms you can think of. I think I think maybe that's where the question is coming from, is terms of human nature. If we change those to something that is workable for the entire human race, I don't think there would be war. Would be war. I don't know. I don't know. That's just me
I,
spitballing. I don't
I
know.
I think if we educate individuals to understanding what our nature is to survive, and we
Mm-hmm.
educate people, we bring them up in a society in which we value the things that enable us to survive, but are not destructive. That we alter our response to the survival mechanism. That they become things that we learn about our society. You don't need to do this to survive anymore. Though
Mm-hmm.
your brain may react a certain way, we teach people. We give them the means in order to make the correct decisions, to look at a situation and not respond a certain way, even though your brain is screaming at you to do it. You don't consciously need to do that. And then
Mm-hmm.
once people have the confidence in that response, and we get that, we will see. I couldn't possibly posit where our species would go when we get to that point.
Yeah.
Where we, we'll probably never eliminate the need for, or I would say the ingrained necessity for tribalism, to find people that are like us and surround ourselves with them. We may never get rid of that. That's something that has to evolve out away from us. We may never
Mm-hmm.
get that. I don't know, but we can be cognitively aware of it, and we can work against it. But that takes
Yeah.
effort. And sometimes you're not going to get that hit of dopamine for doing it, so it's hard to justify. But maybe
Yeah.
one day, you never know.
I'm going to say this now. This is a very difficult question for me to understand, because we know that human nature is survival, and that's that. And should it change? No. Anything other than that, um, it just depends on how society is now, or where we are in society in terms of um, um, time and what our social demands are at the moment. So the isms at the moment are all our social problems at the moment. And if that boils down to human nature, it's not a part. I don't think it's a part of actual human nature. I just think it's something being social has brought to the table. Am I making any sense?
Well, I think you can. I think you're on the response to survivalism, to surviving, is
Mm,
that you can attach any of our stimulus, or our responses to stimuli. All of them can be ingrained back into surviving. Will I live or will I die?
mm,
Choose living above all others. So even when you walk in and you say you're the new kid at school, and all the other kids see you, and you walk in, and for the first 2 minutes you don't know where anything is, you don't know who these people are, it's your very first day, you're looking around and they're all looking at you. What I mean,
yes.
in this particular, you imagine with children, when the hindbrain actually has more influence over their behavior than the forebrain does, because it's simply not developed yet. So
Mm,
they're running on instinct and running
okay.
on what they've learned from their parents. So they walk in the situation, all of a sudden you are the outsider. What are you going to do? You're going to do what you can to ingratiate yourself to the masses. And we may look at it as like, why is that kid being such a clown? He should learn how to behave. No, he shouldn't. He is behaving because that is what he's doing to be
Mm,
a part of the group. That's what he's doing to survive.
yes. And like a kid with autism, they don't know that they're doing something wrong. They're doing what they know, what they think is right, what they're doing to survive.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
people that take autism as an illness or something that is something to be frowned upon, to me is something I'll never understand. I mean, no one wants a child with autism, you know. Sorry, no one wants a child with autism, obviously. But if you do, and you start treating your child that has autism like every other child, um, it could hurt the child more than anything. Then actually, it could actually hurt them more than it would help them. That's how I see it. So they just need that extra bit of care to learn how to survive with what's going on in their brain than any other normal, I could say, normal child does. A child that doesn't have autism. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's a very, very deep and very, very wide ocean of, I would say, knowledge that we have not really grasped yet. Once we get into, I mean, obviously, what we know about the brain is so limited. But not only its functionality, but different presentations of different disorders or different brain malformations or abnormalities, or the way neural pathways create because they're organic and they respond to stimuli. So not everybody's brain wires, no two brains wire the exact same way. It's such a complex and deep and vast area of knowledge that we have just recently tapped. I mean, we know more about space than we know about the oceans. We know more about the oceans than we know about the human brain, about the deeper functionings of the human brain. So it's intriguing. I mean, we can come up with all kinds of hypotheses. I think we can only do the best we can with the tools that we currently have available, and we do the best we can with what we're presented with. I think as long as I literally think we just came back full circle. If your foundations are strong, truth is your goal, and you're set with yourself, then you are better prepared to tackle such things as this.
Yes. Yes. Now the question is, should it be changed?
Should human nature be changed? I am hard pressed to say anything, because our nature has gotten us from competing with Neanderthals and Homo floresiensis and Homo rodentia. I can't even pronounce that big long one. When we were coming up, when Homo sapiens sapiens was coming up, we were competing at some point at any given time, we were competing with upwards of 3 other versions of humans. And then it boiled down to the big ones. We were competing with Homo floresiensis and Homo neanderthal.
And quickly, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
When did the change from Homo sapien to Homo sapiens sapien happen? Because the last I heard, we are Homo sapiens.
I've heard it Homo sapiens sapiens, just as it's no different. It is still just Homo sapiens.
Okay. So why the sapien sapien twice? So I just want to understand. I just want to understand.
And I have to pull something up because I'm going to lose something in translation if I do. Okay, so the taxonomic tree, Homo sapiens sapiens.
Maybe there's some research I need to go and do.
So that Homo sapiens sapiens and Homo sapiens adultu were both subspecies of Homo sapiens. So we are Homo sapiens, but we are technically, what we are today are technically the Homo sapiens sapiens, which is the subspecies of the Homo sapiens, which breaks down from the genus Homo. So the species is Homo sapiens, which we are, and then we are the subspecies Homo sapiens sapiens. And then the species is Homo sapiens, the genus is Homo, and then homini, and then hominini, and then hominidae.
Okay. All right.
So I'm sorry, it was a little bit more scientific, not everybody uses the Homo sapiens sapiens, but we are still technically a part of that. So hundreds of thousands of years ago, we were competing with other humans. The thing that got us through that, why Neanderthals didn't overtake us, why we weren't swallowed up or bred out of existence, or competing for resources, we didn't die. We didn't die off. The thing that selected for us was that survival mechanism, was the ability, and evolution plays into it as well. We bred faster, we ate more, we were faster, we were more agile, and we were able to communicate better. We had more complex language than the other Homo sapiens did, or the other versions of us did. So all of our cousins died off and we survived because of that survival imperative, because of that. Now, there were some evolutionary advantages we had, our brains, but these don't happen all at once. It wasn't like all of a sudden Homo sapiens popped up and said, we're the smartest on the block and we're going to outlive everybody. Nope. That came through evolution. What got us to the point that allowed evolution to eventually influence us was our survival imperative, our need to be a part of a group, to increase our numbers, to improve our chances for survival. Everything that we do is ingrained in that. So no, altering human survival, the human need for survival got us from that to today. So no, I don't think we should change that. I think we should use that. That's our greatest strength. We should use that to colonize other planets, to seek out resources away from this earth, to learn as much as we humanly can to help our survival.
Yes.
That's where it goes forward. So our response to our survival imperative is what absolutely must change. But I think it's our greatest, whereas it can be our greatest weakness because it leads us to do shit that is really, really dumb, and to make choices or to justify things that are really, really stupid in the name of survival. We need to recognize its strength, use it as a strength, and use it to push us in the directions that we need to go in, or that I think that we need to go in, which is out away from this planet, further on and further more, learning more, gaining more knowledge and experience. Because the more knowledge and experience you have, the better your odds of survival are anyway.
Yes. Yes. Well, I'm not going to disagree with you. I don't have anything to say to add to that. I think you just hit the nail on the head. The only thing that I think that should change from human nature is greed, and I say this on many other live streams as well. I think if we get rid of greed, we will probably be a lot further in terms of technology and life experiences. Not life experiences, technology and moving forward in terms of human nature, we would have moved a lot quicker than where we are now.
I agree with that. I think greed being one of those, responses to survival, to the need to survive, justified by our psychology, that is ridiculous. It comes out of resource hoarding. That individual who has the most resources has the best odds of survival. Just like you could take the Catholic deal, and if you want to look at it from the Catholic perspective, and all of the 7 deadly sins, every single one of them goes down into survival in some way. Is that who has the most mates, who has the most resources, who has the most food, who has whatever, or who even apathy, even sloth. Said that the individual who does not create who does not I would say disrupt the boat or rock the boat. Okay, they're simply there. They don't do anything. And they just kind of live off the scraps of that. And then that's okay because they don't risk themselves. Because if you risk yourself, if you go out and do something, that's a risk, and that could end up killing you. So no, they don't do anything. They just retract and they're just there. That's the safest way possible. So on and so forth. It is a behavior. They are behaviors that we've learned. Crafty Keela is right. They are behaviors that we've learned in order to assist our survival.
I think because they were learned so long ago, they are engraved in our human nature now.
I would say that because I think I think you're right. I think the concept of I think they're very early concepts. So if you're looking at children and child psychology, and you look at children playing with toys, children don't often hoard all the toys. That's not what they typically do. But you will get the occasional child which will hoard all the toys, which will try to get all the toys for themselves. And this is resource hoarding. This is something that is important. Other people want it. They need to come to me for it. I have power and I am in control. And it justifies me. So, but this is part of survival because now all of a sudden I'm important. I have asserted my importance and my strength. You need me for something. So it all ends back to that. And these are, very, very deeply learned behaviors. But I think we can control that, and we can teach children not to do so. So that, but unfortunately, I guess like Jeff Bezos, and he didn't get that message because he has all the toys. So.
Yes. No, I think it can be unlearned, and eventually, if it's unlearned, it can be subtracted from our human nature because, like you say, kids they become greedy, they become a sloth, they become avarice, they become lustful, and they become that from from learned experiences. I get that, but these are experiences that they learned from other people who've learned that from other people. So it comes from long ago.
Oh yeah.
These things are not new. Greed is not new. Greed didn't just happen when money came around. Greed happened from owning more sheep, owning more land, owning more people in the city, owning more whatever currency that they were using at the time. It was earning more. That was where greed came from. Wanting to have more than the Joneses was always the way to be ahead of life. And that's where I see greed has come from. But this was not a question. This was not the question was not about greed. So I do apologize, but that's I think the seven deadly sins have been engraved into us as a behavioral thing that has become a part of our human nature.
Oh yeah, our instincts do need to change. We do need to change our instincts. The nature of the being is to survive. The instincts are what keep us surviving. Even wrath, even wrath. Kill them before they kill me. Even that plays into it. I think one of the worst outcomes of this whole the way this whole thing has worked is I have not only resources that you need, and therefore I am important, I have knowledge that you need. And it is out of this is where the religions of today were born. Because if everybody is together and believes the same thing, our odds of survival are best. And I think that even without realizing it, the people that were inspired to create these followings, to create the followings that we have today, the very early representations of this, I think exploited the need to survive without realizing that they were doing it. That this was a way to bring people together. That religion was helpful, 100,000 years ago. Looking up into the sky and making up stories as to what it was, or drawing on the side of a cave to try and do this, wondering these things has helped us to survive. It did. It's now something that needs to be let go of. It's one of those things that we don't need to resource hoard to survive anymore. We don't need to bring things together. We don't need these things to survive anymore. We need to train those things out of ourselves now. We've relied on them for too long, and they're just not necessary anymore. They were necessary 50, 60, 70,000 years ago when the world was covered in, when most of the world was covered in ice and we were hunting woolly mammoths to eat for the next 3 months. That's a different situation than we have today. So
I think it is. But if you look at the top three, like you're saying earlier, the top three richest people, if they each took a section, or you could call it if you could call it a section of the earth, I think that all three of them, if they pulled all their resources, could fix that part of the world. But
I think they could, yeah.
But is it considered greed that they don't?
I think it's justifiable from a psychological perspective. It's justifiable as it's not their responsibility. I mean, just because they have the most doesn't mean that that's a very, very interesting argument, because does the possession of all the resources inherently put more responsibility upon you because you control those resources? At what level of responsibility do you have? So if we're all in the desert and I know how to find the water, but no one else does, but I know how, or maybe even I know where the water is and I have the location in my head, but no one else knows where it's at. What is my level of responsibility?
Yes.
Is it my responsibility to tell other people where the water is, or to at least go and bring it back for them? Or is it my job to save myself and keep that knowledge to myself and do with that knowledge what I desire to do with that knowledge? At what point do we divest ourselves from, I can, all I need is for me, and what I need is for absolute survival, because everybody will die if I don't tell anybody, but that gives me power. So it's a very, very interesting conversation to go in that direction. It's like, where's the line of demarcation?
Yes. Just quickly speaking about millionaires and such, I was listening. I don't know if everybody remembers Savage Garden. One of their songs came up on my list on my song list today, and it said the one that caught me the most was, "I believe the struggle for financial freedom isn't fair. I believe the only ones to disagree are millionaires." Now that tickled me because once you get into the so-called system of being in a loan or having credit cards and such like that, it is very difficult to get out.
True.
It is extremely difficult to get out of. And you just think to yourself, oh, these people that are millionaires, my small little loan of whatever it is, it's basically 2 cents for them, 2 dimes for them. Can't they just help, the small people out that have these loans that are struggling, you know? But then you answered that question by, it's not their responsibility to help the little people get out of their loans. They made that loan, they need to get out of it.
Exactly. But then again, if you hoard all the resources and they're trying to get up and you don't help them, what resources do they have to get to where you are just because you got to them first? And then this goes into other conversations like, where a technologically advanced group of humans encounters a less technologically advanced group of humans. And typically the more technologically advanced ones end up wiping out the other ones. Cortez in the Aztecs. Columbus and the indigenous individuals he encountered, the Vikings and also indigenous Americans, or what are you going to do? Or the Dutch and African colonies. What are you going to do? And you're stronger, you're better, you have more, you're more capable. What is the level of your responsibility? How do you justify that in the scope of survival? It's difficult. Territory for a lot of people.
Yeah. Historical philosopher says, jail won't remember that most of their wealth isn't liquid; it's stock wealth, which could disappear tomorrow.
Very true. It could disappear tomorrow, but man, I've never met an American who didn't care more about his illusions than anyone else. It's all about the image.
I see a lot of love in the chat for Savage Garden. Thanks, guys, for not putting me down for it. Still listening to Savage Garden. I'm a very nostalgic kind of person. I love to listen to songs from times that made me happy, and to listen to them again at a time where you're going through something. It could be one of those ripples that actually changed your life. One of those songs that you really needed to hear at that precise time, that changes something in your brain, that changes a decision in your life that could change your entire life. That is why I love music. But that's just me.
It's interesting that you brought up, and I think that's a really, really cool exercise. Something that and it's interesting that you brought that up right now because it's something I'm actually working on. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine about the music that defines the moments of our lives. Like for one, Stain's Chapter 5, Outside, was a huge song that got me through the breakup through an ex of mine. That was actually that whole album, but it was Outside that was most important to me. But I've had specific songs from as early as I can remember. The very first song I ever heard was Fade to Black, Metallica. That's the earliest song I can remember hearing, and then all the way up to today, everything is as eclectic as my tastes are. And I'm actually trying to put together the soundtrack of my life, as it is like every single song that was so ridiculously like this is the song that defined this moment. And I'm currently that's a project I'm currently working on, and I'm adding to it as I get to them. And I want them to be very, very specific. So I only have like 7 songs on there right now. But I think everybody should do that. I think there are those moments. I think it's a cool little kind of reflective and introspective project that people can do. I just find it interesting you brought that up right there, and it's something I'm currently working on.
Yes. I mean, I think every now and again people should go back to the music that they used to listen to when they were younger, that reminded them of happy times or even sad times, actually. And just listen to the songs and just actually listen to what that you were listening to, and it could be something that you may need to hear now. So if you're going through a bad time, um, you know, um, just listen to that old music. Like that song I listened to, I think I was traveling to my hometown today to go and see my parents, and it's a 40 kilometer drive, so it's about 35 minutes. And I think I listened to that song 3 or 4 times in a row, and every time I listened to it, I got a lump in my throat because the words of that song, just the song Savage Garden Affirmation, I mean, the whole song is I believe in what he actually believes, and some of it, I don't know if for some people it may not have aged well, but a lot of it still holds true today. Something along the lines of you can't appreciate real love until you've been burnt, and that is what brought my answer to that question earlier on tonight or today was, your experience of knowing true love, or being hurt, you'll never know true love.
Yep.
Okay, so we're coming up to our 2 hour mark, and I think we should look at shutting this down. But before we do, I did get a tip tonight. Thank you very much, X Alien Gaming. I know he's no longer in the chat, so I will send him a personal message to thank him. I should have thanked him when he was still here, but I didn't think he would leave. But that's fine. Thank you for the $20. He said. Wish it was more, but the plot hole takes all my money. Laugh out loud, kidding. That was very sweet. But thank you very much, Alien X Gaming. I very much appreciate it. It was it's very, very much appreciated. It's not expected, but it is amazing to be able to get this, to be able to be told that we enjoy your work. So let me take that off the screen. So on the different channels that you're on, what is coming up for you?
Ooh, let's see. What do I have coming up? Week in Horror is going along strong. Our episodes are every Wednesday, 8 p.m. CST, Central Time, on the Week in Horror channel. So we're just going along with that. I've got a cool special guest coming up, which I think, because we do special guests every month, we've got someone in the horror industry I think is going to be really cool. I don't want to spoil it. So that'll be fun. That'll be coming up on the 20th. Other than that, and Week in Horror is now on Instagram. So we were on just Facebook and Twitter. Now we're on Instagram as well. So you can follow us there if you're a big IG user. As far as my own personal channel, I have a video coming out. I'm going to, push it hardcore. I'm going to come out with it. It's either going to come out today or it's going to come out tomorrow. My top 10 reasons why God does not exist. I hope I don't. But like I said, it's my top 10 reasons why God does not exist. I will. So hopefully that'll either drop tonight or it will drop tomorrow during the day. Other than that, I've got the Four Beardsmen Sundays in the morning. I know virtually everybody out there will be joining us for that. And I want to send out a huge apology. I don't know if he's going to hear this or not, but a huge apology to the plot hole. What happened was when I got home, I was so absolutely exhausted that I actually passed out. But the reason I was not able to make Johnny's birthday stream is because I ended up having to stay late because my boss potentially was exposed to COVID-19. And he started going into coughing fits, and we thought that he might have been sick, and he had to be sent home. Because he was sent home, all of the work that he was supposed to do fell on me, which kept me to work until like almost 7 o'clock at night. I was so exhausted when I got out of there. I got home, I tore my pants. Everything was jacked up. I get home, I literally crashed out, and I was just dead. And until I woke up in time for the show today. So my apologies to the plot hole. I'm so sorry I missed it. I wasn't there. I wasn't conscious. So I will make it up to you. I do promise. Promise you that.
I think you owe him a phone call.
Yeah, I'll definitely talk to him. I'll talk to him soon. Because Johnny is a member of the Week in Horror family. Yes. So I see him quite a bit. But I see him in the chat there. He says, "No worries." Yes. I felt like such a D-hole. I felt so bad. I was like, this is, of course, the one day, and I was so looking forward to it because Eugene was going to be out there. We were going to have fun together. It was going to be good. I'm certain he had cake, and I was kind of in the mood for cake that day. So I was just, so my apologies on that, but
there we go.
I'll make up for it.
At least he understands.
Yeah.
All right, from my side, thank you very much for joining. Next week, Saturday, is my birthday, so I'll be turning a lovely 34 years old. So I will be having a birthday stream. I am hoping that my two Patreons at the moment, Jessica G and Morris, I haven't seen in the chat today. I'm hoping that they will be able to join me as I have asked them, and I'm hoping that they'll be able to join me on my birthday stream. Once they have joined, maybe an hour or so later, then I may be able to get some more people onto my stream, and maybe we can play some Quiplash or something. I think that could be fun. Then after that will be the 23rd, if I'm not mistaken, will be the first show. Yes, the first show for my Scientology show. So that would be Scientology Endgame. I will be having Chris Shelton on my show for these shows. We will be talking about Scientology and the dangers of Scientology. Again, I don't care what people believe in. I believe in Zeus, so I don't care if they believe in a pineapple, to be honest. But I just want people to be aware of the dangers of Scientology. That is my goal, is just to warn people about Scientology and let them help them understand why it's a dangerous cult. I am now also on Twitch. I now stream gaming. It's my reason to actually now game, because this channel has taken up a lot of my time to game. So I'm now forcing myself to game by actually streaming it. So if you would like, I'm going to try and keep a schedule of a Sunday and a Wednesday kind of thing. So I will definitely, just watch out on my Twitter. All the links are in the description. So watch out on my Twitter for when I am going live on Twitch. You're more than welcome to come and join in. Yes, it's not the same as YouTube. The emotes are not the same and all of that, but I can promise you it's really an awesome time on Twitch. Also spend about 2 to 3 hours playing, because it's just that much fun. Links in the chat now. Bacon Earth has just linked my Twitch in the chat. So if you want to come in and spend time with me while I play games, please do. I would really much appreciate it. And also hit the follow button, because on Twitch it's follow, not subscribe. Because if you subscribe to me, it's like memberships on YouTube. But I don't have that ability just yet. I'm not an affiliate just yet. So if you would like to come and watch me play and hang out, I would very much appreciate it. Then on Sun, yes.
Oh, I just have a quick question. I was sitting there curious. How close is your avatar in approximation to you? Because mine is absolutely me.
We know this. Well, let's put it this way. If you come to a stream on Twitch, you can actually see me on camera. Let's do it that way.
Okay, cool. There you go.
So if you guys want to see what I look like, not that I think most of you have seen what I look like. If you saw a photo of me on a bike, you would have seen what I look like on one of the shows on Sit Down with the Bunkers, or when it was. But if you really want to see what I look like, and it's quite close. I'm also that short. I do wear red lipstick, although that does look darker than red. But I don't wear lipstick now because it's going to smudge on my mask, so I don't wear lipstick. And no, I don't have pink in my hair or blue. It's just the highlights. But anyway, so yes, you can come and join me on Twitch if you want to hang out and watch me play The Sims. I would very much appreciate it. Hit the follow button and so on. Then the last Sunday of the month, because I got all my dates wrong and I was an idiot. The last Saturday of the month, I'll have Punchy on my show, so that could also be quite fun. So yes, if you want to come join me on that one as well, it'd be awesome. And then from then on, I will announce as I go who will be on my stream. If there's anyone doing a premiere or a stream after this show, please put that link in the description, in the chat, so everyone can follow to that side. I think it'd be greatly appreciated. If not, it's fine. Go do whatever it is that you need to do after the show. As for that, JL, do you have anything else to say?
No, not at all. Just thank you all. Thank you so much for having me on. It's so great to see everybody in the chat. Hope everybody has a fantastic day. As always, be safe, be excellent to each other, and
Yes.
do everything we can to bridge the divide.
Yes. Also, Little Wolf and 9 o'clock, I have seen you in the chat. I'm so sorry I didn't get a chance to say hi, but now I'm going to say bye. And thank you, everyone for coming. Please don't forget to subscribe, donate to the cause if you can, become a Patreon if you can. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it very, very much. All the links to everything that you need are in the description. I'll put my Twitch link in the description as well. So if you want to follow me there as well, more than welcome. Other than that, bye-bye. Bye-bye. Where is everything? I've just done a fail. Watch me do a fail.
You spent too much time in team streams.
I have. Anyway, bye, guys. Oh, goodness gracious me.